What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Wednesday, January the 22nd already. How are we 22 days into 2025? That was a lot of twos, and I can't believe I pulled that off. But I'm stoked to be here. I apologize for the slight delay. It's always Kobe's fault, and we know that. But let me introduce the wicked crew I have hanging with me today to break down a fun day in news and then, of course, preview Dynamite. First and foremost, this guy's on a roll. He makes his debut last week. He's on yesterday. He's on once again today. I'm going to throw it all the way across the pond to Archie Carter.
Cheers, Clark. Yeah, I'm excited to be back on for the second day in a row. Shad and Geordie had a great show yesterday reviewing Raw, and there's some pretty cool news headlines we've got to go through, and I've got quite a bit to say on a particular subject on one of these.
Well,
but yeah,
I can't wait to preview that one, Arch. There's no doubt about that. But before we do, I have to, your last name's Carter, but there's an original Carter here at WR, Mr. Carter Crisp, and we may even get a special appearance from Cart Carnette. But for now, we have the man himself, Carter Crisp. What's going on, my friend? You're on the mute. Okay, you're off mute.
I'm alive. I'm well. I was at the I don't know if anybody knows. I was at the UFC this weekend. Yes. I want to give a special shout out to Beth and Dana for allowing me into their suite. And that was 2 TKO events at the Intuit Dome. I'm still alive. Had a blast at both. My cousin might come on here and call the UFC a wrestling promotion, so we'll keep our eyes out for that. But yeah, no, I'm doing good. I'm excited to get into some real graps, like we were talking about earlier, Clark, some just real graps.
Real graps. Just talking graps. I'm stoked to have you here as always, Cardi. We've got some comments to run through. We've got Stream Elements, monster shout out to Chaos himself. Wrestling Republic is now live streaming talk shows, podcasts, and should Tony Khan have freed Ray Fenix? Sup, Wallet Republic from our friend I Make Beats. I thought we were buddies. But it is a fun segment, and I know Archie's got a lot to say about that one. We've also got hello from friend of the show, number 1 Superfly. What's going on, man? Good to have you as always. But let's get right into our opening segment. Let's talk about this new wallet of the week. And you and Cass have been working on this for a long time, Arch, so I'm looking right at you, as you can tell. I remember it in the meeting when we discussed it, and I'm stoked at the execution. This week it was Tony Khan. Let's start with a little breakdown on exactly why, Arch.
Okay, so luckily for me, Anthony has given me permission to borrow his shovel and just for this topic, because what on earth is Tony Khan thinking? I have no idea. So we'll start from the beginning with this whole Ray Fenix situation. Tony Khan, he added a year on to Ray Fenix's contract through injury time. And he did that with what is rumored to have no intention to actually use Ray Fenix for that year. So not only has Ray Fenix had a year out with an injury, he's also had a second year of his career taken off him, which is 2 years of his career taken off him without getting taken out of his hands. This is nothing he can do about it. And I heavily disagreed with this, but you can kind of put it as this is a ruthless business move, and a lot of people have said that Tony Khan needs to be more of a ruthless individual in the wrestling industry. So I can kind of see that part of it, but I did not like this kind of this move from Tony. But then we got to Penta's debut, and Penta, he had a fantastic debut. It was an incredible success for WWE. He was at the top 2 most sold items on WWE Shop. He had a fantastic reception for his entrance, and he had an incredible match with Chad Gable as well. So, what would you be doing if you were Tony Khan in this situation? It's not a great situation that somebody's jumped to WWE from your promotion, and within 1 week they've already been able to utilize him better than AEW ever has when he was in the company. So it's not a great situation, but you would at least try and make some kind of, you'd at least try and take advantage of that situation a bit. Maybe featuring Ray Fenix's merchandise, or maybe Lucha Brothers merchandise, if you can do that legally, on AEW Shop, because Penta's incredibly popular right now. Some people might be saying, hey, I want to get some merchandise from his brother, or maybe they've got some Lucha Brothers merchandise left over at AEW Shop. What does Tony Khan do? He goes and takes the merchandise off AEW Shop, and with that, that means that Ray Fenix does not get a single dime from.
He's not making any merch money.
No, not making any merch money, which could have a massive percentage of his wage in his contract. And AEW are making not a single penny from this, and all they're doing is paying for Ray Fenix to sit at home and do nothing. And it's just a completely, and this might sound harsh, but for me, it's a completely moronic move. I don't see myself as I'm not a business person, not a businessman, but I just don't understand. I cannot wrap my head around it, honestly.
So to be completely honest, on paper, I actually probably agree with more than you would even realize that I would. I'm not going to come back with some gigantic retort. I only have one question, and if it's for sure answered, then I'm in agreement. And do we know for a fact if given a release, Tony Khan, given the contractual obligations, isn't required to pay the same amount lump sum as opposed to overtime? Because that would be logical from the business perspective. If he's going to have to pay Ray Fenix the same amount no matter what, and they're on a bi-weekly paycheck type thing, a weekly paycheck deal, whatever it is, and it's guaranteed money anyway, as opposed to having to pay it all in one big check to grant a release to go to your competitor, then it would make sense. And that's the only place that, and I don't know. That's the thing too, right? I don't know for sure, but if that's the case, that would be logical. And Tony Khan has been very successful business-wise in other entities elsewhere. He's not a dumb guy. At the end of the day, he really isn't. No matter what we say, he is new to the wrestling business, and it's a cutthroat, ruthless business. And we comment on multiple parts of it, including backstage booking and whatnot. I'm not denying that it's odd, the sort of commandeering talent, so that we've seen the WWE do it.
Yeah,
we've seen the WWE do it in the past numerous times, right? I mean,
100%. Brody Lee,
absolutely. Even with names, right? If we want to talk about pettiness, the wrestling business is petty in a way, and I'm not trying to fire shots back at WWE in like I'm being real defensive way, but the only explanation to me when I look at this that makes any sense at all is, okay, I can pay him overtime, or I can write him one big check. I'm going to pay him overtime. He signed a legally binding contract, and that's
of course,
that's fair.
Of course, it's completely fair. He's well within his rights to do that. But the thing is at the end of the day, he could have, if it was rumored, if the rumors are true, he and Penta rejected a deal from WWE to go to AEW. So at the end of the day, this is somebody that Fenix trusts after being a great asset to AEW. He's been nothing but perfect in whatever he's done for AEW.
He's been unbelievable.
Yeah. So the thing is, to me, is you can say read the contract or whatever, but at the end of the day, this is someone that Fenix trusted. And he added a year onto his contract without even indicating that he wants to use him. It's just a petty
think about
move
it like if you owe him $250,000, and it's either you can pay him over the year you added, or all at once. Given production costs week in and week out, it's a logical move from a business perspective to pay him over time.
Yeah,
and so it may not be. The intention is the interesting part to me. Because if the intention is just to be petty, which is what it looks like.
From the surface,
which is what it looks like on the surface, then I don't like that. But I'm not sure that's the intention. And what can you do if you're right? If you're going with what your gut instinct is, which is, I'm not going to cut a $250,000, $500,000, whatever it is that's left on the deal.
Yeah, no,
$100,000,
I agree.
$50,000 check at once, but I am willing to pay it out over time because the contract was signed. I do think that's fair.
Yeah, no, that's fair, right? I completely get that's fair. If you want to just have him stay at home and, you know, pay him over time rather than pay it all in one go, that's fine. But taking his merchandise off AEW shop, which he might get a big percentage of in his wage, we don't know the contract. You know, I'm not pretending I do.
Yeah,
that's just a very odd move to me, and I don't understand. I don't understand the reasoning behind it. I'm trying to wrap my head, trying to think. I can't come up with anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Carter, do you got any insight on this? What are your thoughts when it comes to the contract situation with Fenix? I mean, there's also rumors about the Ricky Starks thing too. It is starting to become a bit of a pattern. I don't really want to throw that in there. That's a lot of dirt sheet fodder there. As far as that's concerned,
Ricky Starks. Oh my goodness! I just had flashbacks to Ricky coming down the escalator at the mall. Was at the Mall of America during a GCW. I mean, I think it's backfiring because I think it's just backfiring on AEW because what's happening is Penta, and we're gonna get into this later in the show, but I think Penta's debut basically couldn't have gone better. One thing that an original point I want to make, I don't know if anyone's thinking about this. I might have seen someone else say this on the internet, but like with the addition of Penta, like Penta is so good. He could be a Rey Mysterio like level of talent, absolutely. I think he's going to go on one hell of a run. But in WWE, you also have Dragon Lee. You also have Santos Escobar was in CMLL for a little bit. Then over in AEW, you have a lot of luchadors. So AEW is WWE is a wrestling business. You know, it's built to profit and to make money. AEW it's a little bit like PlayStation and Xbox, where you have Sony and Microsoft funding it in the background, so it can lose a little money. So when you're in direct competition like this, you might pay a little bit extra just to keep Ray off of TV. You know, just to have him, just to try to squash him a little bit in his prime years, but all I see this doing is this is putting a highlight on Penta, and WWE fans who may not like AEW are realizing how sweet Penta is. And now Ray Fenix is going to come in and, Penta is going to be sold to the audience. And
it's just turned out to be a major benefit for WWE that they get to make the most of Penta as a single star.
I say it all the time. One of my favorite moments I've ever seen live. It was my 30th birthday. I went to All Out 2021, and it was the Bucks versus the Lucha Bros in that steel cage match. And the figure,
so good.
The steel cage, the size of it was so tall. And when Fenix got up there and he tiptoed across it like a tightrope walker, and just looking up at him, I happened to be sitting on the floor. It's one of the few times I was actually like kind of terrified for somebody. I'm like, please land this. Please don't let this like ruin the show. Because it was just, and I get that I'm 5 feet below the ring on the floor, right? Or whatever, 5.5 feet. But that cage was so dang tall. And he was so high up there looking up at him. And it was the perfect corner for where I was sitting. I'll never forget that. His debut is going to be electric. And I maintain this. I still believe I think Penta is excellent. I think there's a lot of excellent luchadors. Right this second, I think the best on the planet is Ray Fenix. I think he's been for the last few years. And I think he's the most talented one and the best wrestler of the bunch. I truly do. But I mean, as fun as this topic has been, we could spend the rest of the day on it. Let's not go overboard here. We got to save some more for later. We've got good stuff going on here. Let's talk though about Corey Graves actually showing up in NXT yesterday. I did off the air with Shot and Driz, and we enjoyed this one. He kind of teased like he might say something in the beginning, in the introduction, and we pretty much just got a clean Corey Graves. I liked it. I thought he did a great job. I think he adds to that booth. I don't mind it being 3 on NXT with those 3. It actually works. And I know there's a lot of complaints about 3-person booths. I really don't have that problem like other people do. I think pros are pros, and you can figure out how to make it work if it's 2 or 3 mics. Like, come on, let's leave that to the real professionals. If we can do 3 mics for an hour today, they can do 3 mics for 2 hours. Come on, it's not that hard. Archie, though, I really do want to get your thoughts on it. Corey Graves here. What does the future look like? Do you think he's sticking with NXT for the foreseeable future? Do you think this is sort of a ruse? Do you think maybe there's something else at play?
So this is quite interesting. I don't think a lot of people, when Corey tweeted what he tweeted, where he kind of aired his grievances, I think a lot of people didn't really know if it was a work, if it was, an actual frustration. From what's been reported, obviously we don't take that as gospel at Wrestling Republic, but we've seen that he might have been pulled off NXT. He didn't replace Pat McAfee on Raw. And it's, to me, this is a perfect kind of comparison of how AEW have handled a frustrated talent in their company to how WWE has, because it seems like the thing is, time is a great healer, and it seems like Corey and the rest of the professionals that he needs to talk to about this have sat down, and he's given him his take on it, and they've told him probably what they think on the and they've told him they've told him what their plans are for him. And I think last night he made his appearance on NXT and he did a fantastic job. There was a new talent called Nico Vance, which he put a lot of stock in, and it helped him kind of get over in his first appearance. He showed a great level of enthusiasm in the main event. And I do like Corey, so I'm very happy that this is it seems like this situation has been resolved now. And I know a lot of people think that WWE are overlooking him, but for me, putting him on NXT, it shows to me that WWE see him as a reliable, flexible on-air talent, because he can fit on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, do a post-show, do a kickoff. He can do anything in that kind of regard for WWE. And
so,
to me,
Arch, I agree with a lot of what you said here.
Yeah,
but I may have a more different perspective on this one than I even did on the last one.
All right.
I think it's all a ruse. I think James Ellsworth, who tweeted about it, or X'd about it. What do we call it now? He X'd.
X. Just say
he
tweeted.
Did an X. Posted in an X.
Yeah.
He said Pat McAfee in Indianapolis, where he was a Pro Bowl punter for that many years, his adopted home, where his studio is, the Thunderdome, enters the Royal Rumble and a masked man eliminates him and pulls the mask off. And it's Corey Graves. I think this is all a ruse to set that up. I think it's been happening all along. I've been begging for this for 2 years on this very show, Archie.
Yeah.
I said the WWE and AEW both do a decent enough job of working the average fan.
Yeah.
Work us one time. Do it. This is the time. This is the perfect time to strike when it comes to that.
I could see it possible.
Right? Corey Graves is now cleared physically. The disgruntled employee against the guy who took his chair. They both now can wrestle. It's fun. You have a Rumble spot and you have a Mania match. And not only that, the key to the story is it's circular in the perfect way, because what did Corey specifically say? I was told I'm not famous enough for my job. What could possibly make you famous enough? How about you beat the guy that replaced you that's more famous than you at WrestleMania? It's a perfect pro wrestling story. It is a perfect pro wrestling story, and it's so cool because it's overcoming the injury and the other key line from the initial tweet. And the internet doesn't forget. Yes, it got deleted, but was having it taken away from you.
Yeah.
Well, take it back. He takes it back.
He did say an interesting comment, which I thought in the main event, I think it was, which is I thought might have been linked to all these rumors, and he said that when you've got Raw and SmackDown on NXT, or you've got Raw on Netflix now, and with the WWE being at the highest it's been for ages business wise, you got to show them why you're the one to be in that main event spot. You got to show them why you're one of the best in your position. He said that in the main event, and I think that may have been coming from a bit personal.
It was a bit of a tease.
Mindset.
It was a bit
I think
of
so.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. Yeah. There were even rumors of this, Coach 23. There were even rumors of this before WrestleMania 38. That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
You just never know. Speaking of things that you do know about, though, and should know about, let's talk about Progress Wrestling really quick. If you haven't checked out Demand Progress Plus yet, what are you doing? It's one of the best tape libraries on the whole internet. Use code WATCHPROGRESS1. You're going to get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress Defy, and many more. See some of your favorites cut their teeth. And the current product is off the charts. Every chapter keeps getting better and better. One more time on that code. This is for 50% off your first month. That's Watch Progress 1. Check it out. And then not only that, go ahead and head over to the App Store, no matter which phone you have. The Google Play Store, if it's one of those other ones, if it's an iPhone, just the App Store, whatever you call it. Download the Etsy app. You can see that logo in the corner there. That's how you know you got the right one. Head over to upcoming streams. Check out all of our stuff here in the future. And go ahead and give me a follow. I'll follow you back, I promise. But let's keep it rolling this afternoon. I guess morning, evening, depends on where you are on today's show. We're going to talk more about the Lucha Bros than we already have. Stunned. I'm utterly stunned, but Ben made the topics, not I. I'm kidding. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here, but seriously, is Penta? Oh no, wait a minute. I think we have a run in. I see a scarf. Carter has left the building, and it's Carnette. Is Penta a future world champion in WWE, Mr. Carnette? And thank you so much for joining the program.
Yeah, surprisingly, I have nothing negative to say about Mr. Penta. I am just surprised he was able to. So Penta has a fantastic history. For those of you who don't know, two of the big promotions in Mexico, AAA, CMLL, got his teeth cut, wrestled in both of them tons of times. That's why he's good. But he had a little run at a rec center in Reseda with a gentleman called an announcer who I call Sockface, who goes by the name Excalibur. And he had a couple of matches with the Buck. And like you said, Clark, his brother was tiptoeing across the cage. I'm surprised he got through all this injury free. My goodness, if this was Mid-South with me and Ole Anders, let me tell you something. This would not be happening. This type of dangerous working. But, I mean, hell, I'm surprised he wasn't at the cage of death out there in the field in Delaware with John Tandy getting thrown off of a garbage can or whatever the hell they're doing now out there in Philadelphia. But, I mean, I just can't believe he got through all that and he's still in one piece. But no, he's going to be great. I mean, I'm surprised I felt strongly enough to step in here because I have virtually nothing negative to say about this young professional.
Unbelievable. You don't usually see this kind of respect from Mr. Carnette levied towards the luchador. So that does go to show you that the promo landed. And I think that's the area, right, Carnette, where, you know, it really went over. Archie, though, I mean, while we're on the subject, it was like 70 some odd % of fans voted on the Wrestling Republic. It was at the instant. Where do we do the polls? Where do we do the polls?
That's the question for Ben, I think.
Wherever we do the polls, it was like a 70+% vote in favor of Penta winning the title. Archie, are you in agreement with the 70% of fans that voted on whichever platform it was that we were allowed to vote?
Yeah, so to me, after last week's reception Penta got, and also this week, it just screams to me that WWE have got another star on their hands. You know, he got a great reception in both shows. As I said, he got a great reception on his entrance. He had a great match with Pete Dunne, Chad Gable. He's been selling merchandise like crazy. And all I'm saying is, I think I've got to agree. Don't be surprised if too soon we see Penta mixing it up with Gunther potentially for the world title.
I agree with almost everything you just said, Archie. I think he mixes it up, but I don't think that makes him a future world champion. I don't think he wins the title. And I don't know how many times we're going to give him a run like that.
No, I think the thing is with Penta is if you're going to give him a world championship reign, I think it's got to be pretty soon.
Yeah, it has to be like now.
Yeah,
it has to be like as soon as possible.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see him having a world championship match for sure, and why not beat Gunther if his popularity stays the same? I wouldn't be surprised. He's already got the Cerro Miedo chance over, so why not?
That's the thing for me though, is like we discussed it earlier in the show. When Fenix comes in, they have to run the Lucha Bros tag team, and then likely at some stage, the WWE is probably the better promotion to run the rivalry. If you're ever going to have the Lucha Bros turn on each other, it actually makes it. And it's funny though, because I've spent most of the last few years complaining about tag teams breaking up, but I would love to see Fenix versus Penta in a WWE ring at like a Mania. That would be outlandishly good.
I wouldn't be surprised if Penta's retirement match or his last match in wrestling, I wouldn't be surprised if it is at WrestleMania against Rey Fenix. That's just kind of, it sells itself, doesn't it? That story sells itself.
100%. Okay, also, I got a couple comments. Lord Virus of Nurgle with Clark, does the code work for the yearly subscription? I believe it does, but if it doesn't work, you do have my DM. Just reach out to me and I'll let you know. And then he said he's still waiting on me for Itzy. I thought I followed you back, but if I didn't, I will go do that after the show, I assure you. And then Fernando Zayas with I think Penta and Fenix should be singles wrestlers for now. I don't mind that. I do think out of the gates though, I understand the argument of like not every WWE fan has watched AEW and not every WWE fan everybody doesn't watch everything and whatnot, but don't insult the intelligence of the portion of the fan base that does. We all know the relationship between Penta and Fenix, and I don't want them to be brought in as entirely separate entities. We understand what they accomplished as the tag team. I think I'd be more frustrated if they really kept them away from each other. I think get them away from each other in the long term is fine.
Yeah. To be honest, I think I was just going to say, I think there's more fans that watch both products than a lot of fans realize, to be honest.
Yeah.
And you just got to look at Penta's reaction to see that.
And I even think there's a portion of the audience that pays attention to the one that they watch less anyway, because what else are you going to, once you've read and watched and looked at everything you can for the week, if you're a one promotion person, you might as well see what's going on the other side if you're that big of a fan anyway. In a lot of the audience, when it comes to wrestling, I say it all the time. Wrestling is the one thing that if you meet a fellow fan, you don't have to explain anything. If you meet somebody that's not a fan, you can't explain anything. That's what professional wrestling is. It's like, and so I do think I agree with you, Archie. I think a larger portion of the audience at least is aware of what's going on. Whether you're tuning in for Dynamite, like eyeballs glued to the screen or not, you're aware, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so I don't love I don't necessarily love the just for no reason sort of like pile-ons. I don't know. I didn't really have a good punchline there. Sorry, guys. Let's get on to our main event of the evening here, though. Let's do AEW Dynamite and let's preview it. We've got some fun matches. I'm just going to run down the card. We've got Samoa Joe versus Nick Wayne. We've got Jamie Hayter versus Julia Hart. We've got Ospreay and Kenny Omega, that is, face to face. We've got Private Party versus the Hurt Syndicate. We've got the artist formerly known as Edge, now known as Cope, versus the artist formerly known as Neville, now known as the Bastard Pac. We've got AR Fox against Swerve Strickland, formerly known as Swerve Scott. Don't know how that happened. Weird. Either way, I'm excited about it. It's a fun card. AR Fox, I think bell to bell, is is really underrated and can get a great match out of Swerve. This is one of those ones that's like, I don't know, there's not a ton of story behind it, but like they might actually put on an outstanding match. I really, 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 really don't understand what happened. Jamie Hayter was as over as anybody. She's getting chance from everybody at every arena. And since her return has just sort of been like shuffled into the middle of the deck. Julia Hart, I think, is one of the best stories in all of pro wrestling. She was typecast as a cheerleader because she was a cheerleader and a happy-go-lucky one at that. And Shad said it best. She's Alexa Nobliss. Now, I think the character work is absolutely off the charts when it comes to Julia, and I appreciate it. Nick Wayne, obviously, you got the youth, you got all that, and Joe. I'm going to start with you, Cardi. Is there a match that sticks out that you're looking forward to, or how are you feeling about it?
I mean, wait, let me get my finger right. This gentleman right here, does that look? He's back, boys. He didn't go on the run I thought he would go on. What was that? Did I say 7 years of Samoa Joe? But no, I mean, he's got to go up against a whole family, a father, an uncle, a mother, and he's probably going to lose because he's going to get screwed because he is a man of upstanding character. He sees too many titles. He just retires it. He doesn't even ask Tony. He retires it. But I mean, I will go on the record, and Anthony may have planted me here, and I will say that TNA has one of the best tape libraries, and Samoa Joe here is included in that. And the Samoa Joe Kurt Angle was the greatest rivalry in all of pro wrestling. So
we've got chance here from my mate
Joe. So I mean, I'm just excited to see a 18-star in or outside of the Tokyo Dome. Yeah, he's gonna murder him. His mother's gonna have to step in and end it. But I'm excited for the return of Joe. In fact, I realize I have no Samoa Joe action figures. Right as soon as this ends, I'm going to go on eBay. I'm going to buy every one. So I just could be surrounded by Samoa Joe.
All Joes. You got Joe over your right shoulder, too. We can see it right there. I love that. You can see him in the corner there. Archie, I gotta get your thoughts, though. What are you looking forward to most when it comes to tonight's Dynamite? Is there anything in particular that stands out? We had a comment earlier here. Let me make sure I find it correctly. Number one, Superfly. Can't wait for Cope versus Pac. Maybe a possible match of the year candidate. You never know. You get a lot of time on Dynamites. That's the one really big positive, I think, of Dynamites, is you're going to end up with some matches that really, truly do get the full time. Sometimes I think it hurts them, but sometimes it's also one of those where you watch a Dynamite and you're like, well, that 30 minutes was pretty dang excellent. So there's that. Archie, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I agree with Carty that Samoa Joe's return to the ring is high up there on my interest for Dynamite. I started off with a bit of big criticism for AEW and Tony Khan, but I'm finishing off the show with some big praise. The show looks absolutely stacked tonight. Jamie Hayter versus Julia Hart. I'm really interested in that one. Their first match was good, but I thought they could have, I thought they were a lot capable of a lot better. And I can't wait to see them run it back tonight. For me, the biggest one is Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega coming face to face. I mean, this should be electric. These are two of AEW's biggest stars, and it's like the alternative to Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes teaming together. Kenny and Will putting aside their differences to take down Don Callis family. It's such a great story, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. And I agree with the comment that Cope, I'm not going to call him Cope, I'm going to call him Edge. That's a terrible name. Yeah, Edge and Pac, it could be a potential TV match of the year contender at least. So
the one thing I will say in defense of Cope, Arch, is I do believe that is what, because his last name's Copeland, obviously. Yeah. What he said in an interview that I heard him talking about it, that's what basically his whole life, all his friends have called him. like not
Right.
Adam necessarily, like that's his nickname. So he was like, I want to go with something shorter than my full name. Like I don't even, my friends don't really call me Adam. And I think it's fair, right? Like Edge is just a simple name, right? Cope is a simple name. It's different because people think coping, which is like, right, if we're going to be the grammar police, is like a little weird. But but the way I look at it is it's right. They're like, oh, add a kid Cope. Like that's the name he's gone by since he was a kid. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get it. But to me, it's just, like we call Moxley Mox, but on the AEW,
he's still John
posters,
Moxley.
He's John Moxley. You can still have Adam Copeland or Adam Copeland.
Adam Copeland and call him Cope.
Yeah,
that would actually be cooler. Actually, Archie, that is a really, really dang good point. I didn't even think of that.
It's just when you see Cope versus Will Ospreay on a poster, to me that's just kind of. But when you see Adam Copeland versus Will Ospreay, it's just a stronger kind of title for the for both.
I do agree with Fernando Zayas here when he said social media made too much of a big deal about the name Cope. They really did. They dug in too deep. It's not perfect, but it's not
as Butch.
It's not horrible. Yeah, it's not Butch. It was definitely not Butch. Well, even like doing Austin Theory to just Theory, like come on, that was corny as could be.
Yeah,
like even like you know what I mean. Like he's not Austin anymore. He's just Theory.
At least there's a reason behind Copeland's Cope's name change. It's with Theory, it was just random, wasn't it?
It was, it was just like, you know what? Austin's too much. I think we need to get rid of that. I agree with you though on the Ospreay and Omega facing each other or tagging together. They're going to do the face-to-face today or whatever, and that's likely what it looks like is going to happen.
Yeah,
going
hopefully.
against the Callis family, I think that's so much fun, and I love the comparison you made. The one thing that I do really want though when it comes to the Callis family stuff is for some of the I want the tag matches to occur on Dynamite, tell the story that way, and then I want them to lead to specific singles matches paid off at the pay-per-view. I think that's the smartest route for AEW booking wise, because you can end up with in whoever you pick here, right? But split them off into multiple matches. I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I do think they need to. It's a good story, and I'm excited to see it. But I do think they need to, finish it up fairly quickly, because Kenny Omega, he's got the Death Riders who he needs to be dealing with. He's an EVP, so he needs to be dealing with that soon. But it's one of those stories you can't pass up on. Kenny and Ospreay teaming up, that's money to me. I think
Kenny and Ospreay needs in some way lead to Kenny being the one to be the guy to really challenge Moxley and pull that belt out of the briefcase. I think that would be really cool.
I think it would be cool, but I think with a reign like Moxley's, I think someone like Ospreay, if it was up to me, I'd have Ospreay. If Forbidden Door is at London, is it in London? I don't know if they've confirmed that, but I think it would be pretty cool if they had Ospreay and Mox at Forbidden Door, which is 1 year after Ospreay's first AEW title challenge against Swerve, and you have Ospreay win it there, and it's kind of full circle in London. I think someone needs to be made off of this reign, and Kenny doesn't need it, I don't think.
Here's my only caveat to that. After Kenny's illness and what he just went through, there's not that much time left to do Kenny Mox. And that initial rivalry so launched AEW. It was so important. If you're going to have the nostalgia arc, do it now, because Ospreay and Moxley can wrestle in 2026 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 or beyond, right? I don't know necessarily that that's the same case for Kenny. So if you have the opportunity for Kenny to go on this big blitzkrieg run and be the hero that saves AEW from the Death Riders, I think that to me makes more sense than Ospreay, only because he's been here for so long. Remember, Mox put his head through that glass table. They took the fine in Maryland because of the match with the mouse traps, the lights out match, right? Like or the what is it? The unsanctioned match.
Yeah.
It it was an awesome match. It was one of my favorites. It got me hooked on AEW because I was like, what are they doing here? They've got Moxley and Kenny Omega, and they're going crazy. They have a bed of mousetraps.
What I would say is, I think they should run Moxley and Kenny, definitely. But I don't think Kenny should win. And instead, as I said, use that Forbidden Door storyline, but have Kenny Omega be the Apollo Creed to Will Ospreay's Rocky Balboa. Get him trained for the Moxley match.
That's not a bad idea, Arch. You know? I can see that.
Brings everything full circle. And yeah, I think that's just what I come up with now, but I think I'll do that.
That's not bad at all. Fernando Zayas mentioned that Kenny Omega should be the Sting of the Death Rider story. I'm in for that. If you're comparing to the NWO.
That'd be cool.
And then he said, what's AEW's biggest pay-per-view these days? I would say it's either All In or All Out. It really depends on the year. And then you have Kenny Omega versus Moxley is the perfect full circle story. That's kind of what I think too, but I do hear where Arch is coming from. Either or, I'm excited about it. But with that, that's going to bring us to the end of today's show, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. It means the world to us. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. That's noon Pacific, 3 o'clock over on the East Coast, 8 o'clock in the UK, and of course, 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. Have an excellent Wednesday. On behalf of me, Clark, Archie, Carty, and Cart Carnette, we'll talk to you soon.